All right, our next speaker today is Bette Ek. She is the Vice President of People for a Healthy Environment, a member of the Leadership Council of the Coalition to Protect New York, and Associate Professor Emerita at Elmira College. Please welcome Bette.
Good morning, all you Eco-NIMBYs. I thought that might wake you up or get your attention because you have a new name and I want you to appreciate it. Maybe because I have no life. I went to a coalition, gas coalition presentation just to hear a little of the other side. It was quite colorful. And one of their many handouts was Eco-NIMBYs say the darndest things. We say things like blasting frack chemicals into the ground will ruin our water. Silly us, not true, they're telling us. Listing some studies. Now, the conclusion from these so-called studies is that in every one of these studies conducted, there was not a single case found of groundwater contamination from fracking. Anywhere, none, period. Okay, now it kind of reminds me of some lines said in our proud history, such as, I am not a crook, I did not have sex with that woman, and there's never been pollution. Okay. So, now that you know where you're going wrong, apparently, my first priority is to thank Jeff and Jody Andryzik for sponsoring this incredible day. Second is that I know that among us Eco-NIMBYs, we have a number of highly qualified scientists, economists, and everyone who's worked so hard that with the progress we have made in the past year. Now, it's easy to forget how much progress has been made, but as we all know, we've got a long way to go. And in recent months, I'm a speech-language pathologist, and I guess I can't say I have any credentials to talk about the science or anything like that. But what I am very attuned to is human behavior and what my husband's a psychologist, but what people react to. And on the basis of that, I am suggesting that in addition to all the scientific and economic research that needs to go on, I think a few different pushes added in would be very good based on my observations. I don't think we have stressed enough threats to democracy, okay? The reason, and I say that because if you look at compulsory integration, if you look at eminent domain, if you look at the overriding of local control, it seems to me that democracy and fracking don't mix. I've found that most people do not know these things, including some very educated people who kind of, are blank about fracking. But when I tell them about compulsory integration, the mouths drop and they say, they can't do that. I said, how do you fight this? Well, bring it up every chance you can to legislators, preferably in public, okay? And ask them, how do you feel about a person being forced to lease their property even though it's probably going to hurt them in many ways? If it's not actual threats to their air, to their water, to the traffic on the road, the same roads that their kids ride in school buses on. Okay, or difficulty getting mortgage or decreased value of their homes, is it fair to force people to take on those same risks unwillingly that people take on supposedly willingly, because they really don't know? PA does not currently have compulsory integration, okay, or overruling local zoning, but they're working on it in a very sneaky backdoor way, okay? And I can talk about that a little bit more if anyone's interested. In New York, it's already happening, even though officially we don't have fracking yet. We know that that is not quite true. Pipelines are going in. I read legal notices in the paper, stuff like that. And I just found this article in the Corning Leader, Wednesday, June 22nd. Pipeline settles with 7 property owners. It is Empire Pipeline, and they settled with owners of 7 or 8 properties for which it began eminent domain proceedings, okay? The good news, says a spokesperson for Empire, we've settled with 7 of the 8. Now, these would be 8 holdouts who had to be taken to an eminent domain hearing. They are confident that they'll make arrangements with the 8th pretty soon. I can't help but wonder what methods of persuasion will be used. I'm hoping it's not the head of a dead horse in their bed. But ask your legislators, ask the governors, ask everybody if they approve of having someone's home taken to build a Kmart, which actually happened to friends of mine. Okay, ask them what they think about that and push for an answer. Okay, especially with the pipelines, they are totally going to cover New York, right? Gathering lines, and something I just learned about last week was key points of access to the lines. So they can take someone's property to get a road in to the lines to bring in heavy equipment. Okay, I don't know about you, but I don't want that, particularly on my property. Okay, so this type of threatening democracy appeals to a broad spectrum of political viewpoints who don't like big government, okay? Especially big government run by corporations, the worst form. And the other big part of this is that people can use so-called studies to refute our findings about the air, the water, and so forth, but they can't refute the fact that fracking means compulsory integration, pipelines, local zoning laws overridden. They cannot refute that when you ask them and read them the sections from the environmental conservation law. Okay, the second area that I think we ought to stress more is our county leased land. Push the county legislation to give a list, or better yet, a map of all the county-owned lands, the terms of the leases of those lands, when those leases expire, and push to not renew them and not issue any more. Remind them that they may be, in leasing county land, forcing someone into a position of compulsory integration or eminent domain for pipelines. Just remind them of that fact. In my county, it's hard. If any of the legislators objected in any way to fracking, their political future would be shortened and possibly their day job. Okay, third, make some attacks on the media, major networks and so forth, including NPR radio, CNN. They're bombarding the public with ads. People into brainwashing should watch the techniques, okay? Write to the major networks, ask them to list the possible side effects and health effects just the same as they do for, I don't know, Viagra or whatever. And also, you can pick at the local affiliates, even though they don't make the decisions, it will get some public notice. You can also, and urge them to do some special programs on fracking. Local shows, if you hear it on a certain show. I use this effectively to, well, effectively, I don't know, I thought it might be effective, to send CNN a letter. I specifically mentioned the show that I heard it on, which was The Point. While I was on an elliptical machine, I heard 3 gas ads. So I wrote to the network, but now I'm thinking the shows themselves may be more effective. 1 minute. Oh, okay. Okay. Finally, and not quite finally, next to finally, we need to bring groups in that are not primarily seen as environmental groups. Any letter I send to a legislator, and I send a lot, I always mention that if this process is harmless, why has the New York Academy of Pediatricians, why has the New York Academy of, I think it's medicine, doctors, the League of Women Voters, okay? Do you really want to call them eco-NIMBYs? I don't think so. So mention those groups that have a lot of credibility and bring in more of those groups in your communities, or preferably statewide. One other thing that hasn't been tapped yet, and I think we should, is religious interfaith projects. The Western Diocese of the Roman Catholic Church has position papers and statements about fracking and our responsibilities to the earth. I just learned that Methodist churches, over 200 of them in Pennsylvania, have joined in raising questions about fracking. Native American groups, who typically have a reputation of being very close to the earth, then I think this organizing events, interfaith, intergenerational, again, gives us more credibility, okay? So those are just a few tactics that might be effective, and I hope you try to put them to use as best you can. We're dealing with predators. I can't watch some nature shows because I can't stand it when the lion kills a zebra. Other than it running sensitivity groups for lions not to, eat grass instead. But most of us know in the animal kingdom, that's the way it is. We don't like it in the human kingdom, okay? So mention that. There are predators preying on gullible people. People who've lost jobs, have their homes foreclosed and so forth. I have no malice to them. I worry about them. I worry about the young gas workers who don't know the risks that they are in. These are vulnerable people. I can't stand bullies. I can't stand predators who prey on children. And I can't stand gas companies who prey on all of us. Thank you.